Cheating in Warzone is at an all-time high, and while Ricochet is doing absolutely nothing, the player base is suffering. Of course, this is incredibly apparent to anyone playing right now, but there's also a ton of misinformation being spread about what is or what isn't cheating. Because of that, I wanted to take a deep dive into Call of Duty's terms of service to figure out things once and for all. What I find might actually surprise you. Funny enough, the first thing I want to take a look at is my own personal video comments. We have a couple of comments talking about VPNs, and you can see that a long time ago, I actually blocked the word VPN because so many people were accusing me of using one when I wasn't. But I have a couple that are talking about VPN usage here and whether or not they are or aren't, I guess in this case, against terms of service. So this one said, bro, you did not just say VPN is not against community guidelines. Get the F out of here. And then we also have Violent that says, you are such a liar. VPN with geofencing is against terms of service. It's not specifically the VPN that makes it bad. It's abusing the VPN that makes the difference. That's what the streamers do. They use VPN, geofencing, and or proxy servers to abuse the system. They deliberately cause desync so they can benefit from it. Desync is absolutely not what's happening. Just to be very clear, that's not how that works. And this is what I'm talking about when I say misinformation, is that these players going into these lobbies aren't causing any desync to another player in the lobby. It is only you that are affected anytime you use something like this. Either way, they also say these are the things that are against terms of service, but the plebs just say VPN is not against terms of service, blatantly knowing what they are doing is abusing those services. So, is it against terms of service? That's the question of this video. That, two boxing, and probably a few other things such as audio tunes and things of that nature. So that's what we're going to be discussing. Either way, the first thing I want to take a look at here is not my videos, but I want to take a look at Ricochet and what they actually said about this. It said Ricochet anti-cheat. By the way, this is a tweet from Westy, as you can see, and it's looking at the patch notes talking about Ricochet. It says, here's a message from our partners at Team Ricochet. Treyarch has delivered several updates to combat disruptive behavior, including enhanced AFK detections to battle against account boosting, which obviously boosting is against terms of service. We'll talk about that in a minute. And adjusting ping thresholds to require players to play matches in their region to cut down on VPN abuse. So that right there tells you, I think it's against terms of service, right? But it's not. And it's not just not against it. It's not even close to being against it. And I don't even think legally they could make it against their terms of service. First, let's take a look at this video by the Tactical Brit where he actually talks about VPNs versus gaming VPNs.
You see, the word VPN doesn't mean what it means in the real world versus what it means in the COD world. In the real world, a virtual private network, or VPN, is simply a service that encrypts your internet traffic to protect your identity or just generally protect your browsing and search interactions.
Now, this could be something like OpenVPN, NordVPN, ExpressVPN, Surfshark, things like that that are normal, everyday VPNs that will use your user device and a VPN client plus your internet connection to hit their own server and then the internet. That way you are very safe, very secure. You don't have to worry about things like your credit card information getting stolen because you have a VPN client while you're using a public network service. And even if you're at home, it might be a great idea to get a VPN. That way you can ensure that your internet service provider isn't looking at all that weird stuff you're looking at on the internet.
At the very best, it's probably a safety mechanism that can hopefully keep you a little bit safer online. At the very worst, it's basically just changing your IP address, which is equally as enforceable by most law departments, and probably will get traced down anyway.
Correct.
But in Call of Duty, VPNs are not VPNs. And this is going to be a little explainer as to how these things actually work. And all of these services, and I won't name them because I guarantee you they'll be upset at the contents of this video, don't actually change your IP address. These services don't actually provide you a virtual private network. All they use is open VPN connection protocols and a system called Smart DNS. And what
most of them, just to be clear, most of them use OpenVPN and Smart DNS.
What this means is that rather than giving you a new IP address that hides your data and puts you in a different country, what they're actually doing is sending game-related traffic to distant locations whilst maintaining your own IP address. So what this means is that if your IP address is an IP based out of the United Kingdom, let's say London like me, that number is going to stay the same. So for Call of Duty's matchmaking system, they're still going to see a player from London, and they should be looking primarily for the best connectivity services for somebody who is in that region.
So if you normally get 20 ping, if you use something like a gaming quote VPN, a no lag VPN or SBMM off, you should still have the exact same ping.
But the game traffic that leaves the game and the matchmaking information that they send, they're sending to far, far away lands like Kazakhstan or something.
And the reason why they do that is because when you send that information to Kazakhstan, you will end up making the game think, oh, your ping is getting too high, the experience is going to be bad, and because of all the things that encompass the matchmaking system, connection will always stay at the top, making it where Call of Duty wants to give you a pretty good connection. Now, there are times where connection can be bad for the sake of skill, and most of the time that's at weird times of the day. But the question you might be asking is, what does that have to do with whether or not that's cheating or not cheating? And what does that have to do with them mentioning it in the patch notes and saying that they were going to basically bust down the doors of everybody with a VPN? Well, he goes into detail about that a little bit later.
The entirety of European servers have been pretty much at the mercy of out-of-region players, primarily from Asia and China, for a number of years now. There was a period of time, in fact, multiple periods of time over Warzone 2 and Warzone 3.0, where European lobbies were basically being dominated by out-of-region players. There were multiple lobbies where you would have 3 or 4 different teams, often from China, all cheating in the game.
So what they were talking about, what Call of Duty was talking about, was what the Tactical Brit is talking about. People that were, let's say, in the United States and VPNing over to Europe, or people that were in Europe and VPNing to Hawaii, but a literal VPN, something that would actually push that ping threshold higher and higher until you got the lobby with the higher ping threshold. And that is not possible in any capacity with a gaming VPN. That is only possible with a traditional VPN. Now, the users that were doing it the most and the bad actors in the space were actually people from China, like he mentions, that actually go into the game, they cheat their asses off, they use aimbots, wall hacks, and all of that to shoot players across the map, while at the same time as eliminating all the players, spamming in the in-game chat about how you can buy these cheats here. And the funny thing is they're saying it in Mandarin. So the whole thing is all about people that are using traditional VPNs, not gaming VPNs. So that is what is going on with this specifically. So maybe they're not actually cracking down on VPNs, but is it against the terms of service? Well, I will show you right here. The first thing is we're going to look at the code of conduct. This is what they expect out of their players when they play Call of Duty. First of all, obviously treat everyone with respect, this, that, or the other thing. Don't call people's names. Don't say messed up stuff. You get the deal. The whole thing that gets you banned in game for saying things that are slightly mean and really shouldn't get you banned in the first place, it's a whole thing. But the next thing is this right here: compete with integrity. Competitive integrity is the core that's not what it says. Competitive integrity is core to the Call of Duty experience. Progression is earned through good, clean gameplay. Cheating and griefing or other threats to fair play will not be tolerated. You're responsible for how your account is used. This does not mention whether or not someone else can use your account. I just want to be very clear. This is not saying someone else can use your account. This is very important for what we talk about later. The use of cheats, including third-party software, is unacceptable. Exploiting bugs or engaging in any activity that grants an unfair advantage is considered cheating. And then they basically just say to report people. So nice. Thanks, Call of Duty. But that doesn't really matter. And realistically, none of that will make a difference in whether or not people are cheating in the game. So what I did is I pulled up the actual terms of service. The Call of Duty Security and Enforcement Policy, which you can see right here, is marked 11/13/2024. This is as up to date as it absolutely gets. And the reason why I made sure that it's up to date is because every single time that someone says something about VPN being against terms of service or two boxing being against terms of service, I do one thing. First of all, and I'll show you exactly how it works. Control F. You see this little thing right above my camera? I'll get rid of my camera actually. You see this right here? Go ahead and type in VPN. And you know what? It finds nothing. Okay, let's do virtual private. No, I can't even find anything. All right, maybe 2box. Nope, nothing about 2box. Can we get audio? Nothing about audio. Okay, so what we've learned immediately is that these things are not spoken about in the slightest. But maybe they lean toward talking about, maybe they sort of mention it, but they don't really mention it, and they want us to read between the lines. So what I've decided to do is we're going to go through everything, all of it, because for some reason it's very hard for people to do 8 seconds of research and read things. And before we do go into it, I want to be very clear. I may be, from other creators, one of the least liked creators in the space. It is what it is. I played Blackout way back in the day, and I'm going to give you a point blank answer for this. I played Blackout back in the day, and I made a few videos where I eliminated other streamers. Some of them rubbed people the wrong way, and since then, a lot of people just don't like me. There are very few people in the space that I personally like because I can see how absolutely cheesy they are, fake they are, and how money hungry and disgusting they are. And I will point blank say that. I will always say that, and I will pretty much always be honest about whether or not I like someone or don't like someone. In fact, one of these days when I finally get out of the COD space, boy, oh boy, do I have a burn book of things that I would just love to tell y'all about the nasty stuff I've seen behind the scenes. But I don't want to get into drama while this is still my job. So one day we'll talk about that. And it includes certain things about certain companies. Anyway, it is what it is. But my point is I have no one to protect. I don't really like a ton of people in the space. And so when I make something talking about these things, it's really all about clarity, because for me, I personally care about what the truth is when it comes to a lot of these situations. And when people say unresearched things that are completely incorrect and they have not taken 8 seconds to look into, and then they say it as if it is a fact, I just frankly get pretty annoyed. So that's why we're diving in here. And the first thing we're going to look at is the definition. So first of all, we have what is known as shadow banning, right? It doesn't say that right here, but it's what everybody calls shadow banning. And that's when your account is put in a limited matchmaking state. Long story short, you get reported by other players and you will get put into this state if Call of Duty believes they need to look at your account. And most of the time, it always believes it needs to look at your account unless you have, I'm going to call it a whitelisted account, but what it really is an account that's played in large tournaments in the past. Those accounts will be, quote, whitelisted, or a streamer that has multiple thousands of viewers that constantly gets reported by everyone because they want to ruin their stream. Those people will get, quote, whitelisted, but it's actually a streamer plus. It doesn't keep you from getting banned. In fact, we've seen people get banned that had this in the past. For example, Bobby Poff, he got banned. They obviously unbanned him once they figured out that it had nothing to do with him cheating. I still wish Call of Duty would have apologized because they just ruined a man's career, point blank. Good gravy. But the point is, if you get banned, it's very different from this right here. And so what this is, it's if a player is suspected of violating this policy, their account may be put into a limited matchmaking state. You will be able to play with other accounts that are in the state, and players in your party will also play in your limited matchmaking anytime they're playing with you. At any time, they can throw you back into normal matchmaking or throw you back into limited matchmaking. That's just them covering their ass and saying that we can do whatever we want with your account, regardless of how you feel. So, you know what I'm saying? One of those. Either way, this is not a ban. In no way is it a ban. And you might be asking yourself, how do we know it's not a ban? Well, first of all, in this, they talk about you may receive a temporary or permanent ban if they feel like you should receive one. It's not a minor offense. It's not a suspension in any case, because they have that outlined right below it. And a minor offense is one with which no quantifiable damage has been done to another player or the game community at large. Temporary suspensions can range up to 48 hours to 2 weeks or longer, depending on the severity of the infraction. Permanent suspensions are lasting and final. Funny enough, they're not always lasting and final if they decide to take a look at your account and realize that you weren't actually cheating and it was just a software that got detected that maybe shouldn't have gotten detected. And then we have the extreme offense. All this is to say that there are different types of suspensions, right? So I don't need to go through all that to explain it all to you. You understand the difference. They also have Ricochet anti-cheat in-game mitigations. That is things like splatting the ground, or I say splatting. If you get caught by Ricochet cheating, sometimes they'll troll you, right? So your character will drop off of anything that's more than a staircase. Like if you are able to jump off of something or you hit the jump button, you will splat the ground over and over and over. You will die on repeat no matter what. They also have things where players go invisible. If you ever saw the streamer Nitro Look DX, who was cheating, just a quick heads up, streamer got caught cheating, got banned by Activision. So keep that in mind. People do get banned even if they're large streamers. This guy had 700,000 followers. So people do get banned even if they're streaming. Don't ever believe that this streamers was not cheating because they this, that, or the other thing, or this streamer was cheating because of this, that, or the other thing, unless it comes basically directly from Activision. And Nitro Luke DX specifically had Ricochet anti-cheat in-game mitigations hit him where he had players going invisible that he was shooting at, and he just got caught red-handed, which I thought was quite literally the most hilarious thing I've ever seen, and it kind of proved quite a few points. And funny enough, he was also a guy that was big friends with Bad Boy Beeman, and then they kind of gave each other the, I guess, behind the scenes. And they were still buddy-buddy, and they tried to protect each other after that. But that's a whole different thing. I'm not trying to get into any drama. I just think it's very funny whenever you have hacker hunters protecting hackers. Huh, that's weird. We do have extreme or repeated violations. Obviously, this can also result in a permanent suspension. Spoofing, which is any attempt to hide, disguise, or obfuscate your identity or the identity of your hardware devices, may result in a, hear me out, permanent suspension. And circumventing security, which is ban evading, may result in a permanent suspension. All this to say that they can ban you for a lot of things and anything if they want to. But this one right here is actually very, very important because this is attempting to dodge a suspension. Now, I want to be very clear. First of all, we mentioned this a little earlier. If I go back to it, you can go to the code of conduct. We say right here, you are responsible for how your account is used. This is not to say people cannot use your account. If you want to share it with whoever you want to share it with, feel free to do so. However, you may get an offense, and if you do get an offense, then you could get fully banned. But these offenses have to be one of these, right? It has to be a minor offense, a temporary suspension, permanent suspension, extreme offense, Ricochet anti-cheat, in-game mitigation, or spoofing, for it to be considered this circumventing security or ban evasion. If you have your account in limited matchmaking, that is not an actual ban, even though content creators and other people call it a shadow ban. It is plain and simple, just you getting reported and the system seeing how many reports you had and throwing you into limited matchmaking until they can check over your account. So if you decide to ask your friend to use their account, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as you are not cheating and you get them banned too, because then you're just an asshole. Okay, don't do that. But if you're just shadow banned, do whatever you want. Doesn't make a difference as long as you are not actually cheating, and as long as you don't have a minor offense, a temporary suspension, permanent suspension, all of that, you should be good. Moving forward, we have something that is possibly the most confusing line physically possible. And that is all about this. And it's because this can be interpreted however people want to interpret it, which is going to be a big problem when you look at the content creator space. So let's go full screen. There are people that make videos talking about whether or not this person or that person is cheating. The issue with these videos is that people say Activision is protecting these streamers and that they can do whatever they want. But realistically, we have seen massive streamers like Bobby Poff get banned. Sure, he got unbanned, but Call of Duty won't even apologize for their missteps. So we know that Call of Duty doesn't give a single about all of the top streamers in the space. You mean nothing. If you are a creator, you mean absolutely nothing to this company. Nothing. Zilch. You never will. You never have. You are another person that is just making them the dough, baby. And if you don't see that, first of all, you crazy. You crazy, big dog. You wild for that one, for not knowing that you're just another way for them to make money. but they will get rid of you in a split second and replace you with anyone else coming up. And most of the time, it's going to be someone that fills a quota, right? And look, it may be this, that, or the other thing, but I'm just telling you, you might just get replaced just for the sake of some politics. All right, ain't that something? Either way, let's go into the lines right here. And by the way, I know that's going to upset a lot of people. I don't have an issue with people getting things for this, that, or the other thing, but I do believe that the best person for the job should get the job. That is really all it comes down to for me. Any user who utilizes any code and or software not authorized by Activision can be used in connection with the game or any component or feature thereof which changes and or facilitates the gameplay or other activity, including gain an unfair advantage, manipulate stats, and or manipulate game data, is subject to penalty. Okay, that's a long sentence. I don't know if we realize what a run-on sentence is, but that is a run-on sentence. And basically what they're saying is, if Activision doesn't like the software that you're using and you are manipulating the game in some way to have an advantage over other players or get things that you shouldn't get in the game, such as skins and unlocking certain things that you shouldn't be able to unlock, you can get banned. That is what they're saying. They go on further. They say this includes, but is not limited to, aimbots, wall hacks, trainers, stat hacks, texture hacks, leaderboard hacks, injectors, input mapping software, which is macros, or other software used to deliberately modify game data on disk or in memory. Detection of unauthorized software may result in an automatic closure of the application. So, what are they talking about with a lot of this stuff? Let's start with aimbots. That is people snapping to other players with unauthorized software. Same with wall hacks. I don't know what a trainer is. Stat hacks, this is something that's going to affect your stats in game without you having to do anything. Texture hacks changes the way that the game looks for you. Leaderboard hacks allows you to, and I really kind of hate that they call it hacks, but we're going to go with it. Leaderboard hacks allows you to put yourself on the leaderboard in a place where you shouldn't really be. Injectors, that is going to inject cheats into the game. What that does, basically, this is a software that allows you to go into your system memory, which we'll talk about that in a second as well. You go into your system memory, your literal RAM of your, it can be an Xbox or PlayStation, but in most cases, obviously a PC. It is something that allows you to go into your RAM and change the hexadecimal code to give you certain things. So it's basically a software that does that. Input mapping software, and I've actually pulled up my Logitech G software, and you can see I actually do have some macros. And hey, Expel caught cheating live right here in this moment. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I do have macros on my keyboard. I do. You can see it right here. We've got some macros. It's -8 is what I've called it. Cut, quick macro. I don't even know what this is, actually. I don't even know how to open it, but you can see if I open the macro, what is this? Alt R, Control Z, left window. I think this is just a bunch of random buttons. I don't even know what that is. Either way, we have a bunch of macros. Wow. Oh my God, Expel's cheating. First of all, don't even use mouse and keyboard for playing the game. But the big thing that you need to know is that macros aren't all bad, but macros within the game, when you're using the game, can be bad. If you use macros in a bad way, you could get banned. However, the big thing is, if you've ever noticed this, no one has ever been banned for macros. I am not telling you to use them. I actually think it is absolutely cheating because they say it in the thing. They literally outline it. They say, this is cheating. Don't do it. Don't use macros. It's big bad. Big no-no. Nuh-uh. Don't do it. So don't do that. Don't use macros. Don't use anything to map extra buttons to one button. Which leads me to this. Hello, this is a controller. Right? This isn't sponsored, but if you want to go buy a controller, you expel.gg/aim. Either way, this is a controller. It's got back paddles. You can see them right here. And these are mappable to a single button on the front face of the controller. Actually, I'm pretty sure if you use something like DS4 Windows, which personally, I think certain aspects of that software should be considered cheating, but there's no way around the software for a lot of controllers and things like that to be used on PC. So if you want to use a certain controller on PC, sometimes you have to use a mapping software like DS4 Windows. I just wish that there was a way to block certain things on Activision's end. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to explain that, but my whole thing here is you have controllers like this that have back paddles, right? You can see I've got back paddles. I use the bottom two. I don't use the top two. They are all like right side. Like let's say I use these. this is going to be the jump button, the X button. Left side is going to be sliding, and that's going to be my circle button. And I will use that so that I can keep my hand on the analog stick and click the button on the back. So I can jump and I can slide while aiming and doing things of that nature. And it makes it a lot easier for me. That is not a macro. However, again, with something like DS4 Windows, you can actually use this button right here and macro the X button and I think the run button or whatever it is for, I'm trying to think, whatever hybrid is, you can set, or I think it's a circle button, right? You can map it to where two buttons get pressed at the same time by pressing one singular button. So that is technically a macro. However, I don't know if that's considered cheating. Like I said, the issue is Call of Duty does not ban for things. They have not been very clear about what is or isn't cheating whenever it comes to certain things. So it's just hard to decide what is actually being enforced. And we'll talk about what's enforced and what's not enforced. Again, we have on the game disc or in memory. This is the exact thing. If you know Rara, my friend Rara, he got banned for having a software open that actually checks your system memory, but can be used as an injector. That is the issue. He was trying to catch hackers and things of that nature, and he opened a software that could be used to check on people's computer if they had hacks injected in their stuff. Funny enough, he got banned because his dumbass decided to open it up while he had the game open, and it got him caught cheating. Just because it was an unauthorized software seeing the system memory. So he got banned. Now, he did get his account back. Just to be very clear. He got a ban, but he got unbanned because they saw that he wasn't actually cheating. He didn't inject anything. He did not do anything wrong. And they will come back and do that. I have seen multiple people be banned for a year, and they finally get to looking at and reviewing your account, and they see that you are unbanned. Or they see that you should be unbanned, so they do unban you. It happens. It's rare, but it does happen. Either way, I just wanted to point that out. Things like this, definitely a big no-no. You will get banned for anything that can touch your system memory, your RAM. And they do say, first offense, user may be permanently suspended from playing the game online, have their stats, emblems, and weapon customizations reset, and be blocked permanently from appearing in leaderboards. User may also experience ricochet anti-cheat in-game mitigations. Console users who modify their hardware or profile data may also be reported to console manufacturers. PC users might be banned from Battle.net, Steam, Valve, Microsoft Store, that whole thing. So this is what you could have happen to you just for the sake of doing something wrong, because they want to make sure that the place where you're playing the game knows that you're cheating. I'm trying to find, we should have, yes. So we have things like unauthorized softwares that could be used to gain an unfair advantage. This is a big, big deal. This right here, where it says any user who utilizes any code or software not authorized by Activision to gain an unfair advantage. Okay. That is actually one of the things that is used by a lot of people to say that audio tuning is cheating. I understand that. I fully get it. I understand where people are coming from. It's the same thing that people will use to say VPNs are cheating. It's the same thing that people will use for a lot of things. When it comes to audio, what you need to know is this. Call of Duty has never banned a single person for having their audio on their PC or on their console, which is completely possible, tuned. And the way that that works is you download a software. Usually, I think it's called Hasuvi and Voicemeter. You download those two softwares, and those two softwares work in tandem to allow you to change the frequencies. Basically, the frequencies that hit your ears. It also makes it where you utilize your full headphones. So if you use headphones, what you'll notice, my air conditioner is just taking a pee back there. But if you use headphones, what you'll notice is that if you have good headphones, it should allow you to hear sound front to back, side to side, all the way, and you can hear it kind of with a large sound floor. However, Call of Duty doesn't always utilize that. For some reason, they have big issues with it. And if you use the 7.1 surround sound, sometimes that still does not work. So using these softwares basically just activates that. What you should know is that no one has ever been banned for this. Not a single person ever has been banned for it. On the case of the VPNs, the exact same thing. What I'm going to tell you right now, what is most important when it comes to this, is that if Activision is not banning players for this, we have to look to their actions if they're being too vague. That is what I will always believe. So say Call of Duty one day says, all right, no more audio tunes. No more audio tunes. Cut it off. Get rid of it. No more. Sure, they have, this is actually kind of hilarious. They have put a charge on users to actually purchase audio from Call of Duty to take advantage of the fact that people were doing that with all these people that are tuning audio. They decided to get their own cut. So if you think for 2 seconds that audio tuning is cheating, look at Activision, who's decided to do it themselves and charge you for it. Congratulations, you've been played. So no, they don't care about audio tuning. When it comes to VPNs, again, I've seen thousands of people. I'm not talking about creators. I'm talking about from my comments, people who have got on, used a VPN, and not been banned. For whatever reason, they use a VPN, and whether that be to get easier lobbies or to have a safer environment, they do not get banned. So when you look at things that are incredibly vague in the terms of service, you have to keep in mind that if they're going to be vague, we cannot assume what they mean. We have to take it as it is and look at how their actions show what they mean. So if Call of Duty does decide to start banning for things, it's time to get rid of it, right? You should not be using something that they are banning for. And that's what I'll say. On top of that, when it comes to VPNs, these don't actually give you any advantage. This is to each their own. And I'm not saying that people should use them or should not use them, but advantage means something unfair. You being good at a game is not unfair because Activision actively goes out of their way to give you easier players while you're playing at different times of day. So if you were to say that you being better is unfair, then at all times, Call of Duty should give you a 1-to-1 player base for who you're playing against. That way, it's completely fair at all times. But in reality, it is not unfair for you to be better at a game than someone else. Is it a little cheese? And is it unethical to some people? I would say yes. I think there's a lot of ethics that come into things like VPNs and two-boxing, which I think we'll get into a little bit later. But it comes down to your personal ethics, not fact. And that is the issue, is that a lot of people are pushing their personal ethics out there and making other people believe that it's got to be like that. But realistically, you have to look at the facts. You have to look at what's in front of you. You have to look at what Activision is actually enforcing. And if they're enforcing it, sure, that's a fact of what is cheating and what should be not used in the game. But if they are not enforcing it, then you cannot look at that and say, well, it's cheating, because it's obviously not. Call of Duty doesn't see it as cheating. And in fact, the people that won the race to prestige were using a gaming VPN to try to cheese lobbies and get easier players. And not a single person was banned from that team. So take that as you might. Just a little thoughts. Moving forward, we have Call of Duty points acquired fraudulently. Users that are found to have acquired COD points via fraudulent means may have their COD points and or in-game items revoked. Additionally, these users may be temporarily suspended or permanently banned, depending on the severity of the fraud. So obviously, don't get COD points in a fake way. That's a bad idea. Pirated content. They basically want to tell you if you illegally acquire a Call of Duty title, content, or entitlement, I don't even know what that is, you're subject to getting banned. Obviously, again, it's one of those things where you get permanently suspended, blah, blah, blah. Unsupported peripheral devices and applications. Any user who uses an unsupported external hardware device or an application to interact with the game and used for cheating is subject to penalty. Unsupported peripheral devices and applications include, but are not limited to, modded controller, IP flooders, and lag switches. So when you look at something like what I have, this is allowed, okay? This is not a modded controller. You don't have something like rapid fire where you click it and it, right? It doesn't exist. You don't have rapid fire on your stuff. It doesn't help you with aiming at all. All it does is give you these little back paddles right here so that I can jump while I'm moving. It is a 1-to-1 from the front to the back. So you're basically just having the same button on the front as you do the back. It's just more comfortable for your hand, makes it easier to aim. So that's completely fine. However, IP flutter, I'm assuming that is to lag out the lobby or cause issues like DDoSing. I could be completely wrong. Please do not hold me to that. I don't know a ton about things like that. And lag switches will basically cut the lobby so that you can get points and stuff like that. And then again, minor offense, extreme offenses, stuff like that, you're going to get banned, blah, 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 blah. We have boosting. Now, this is where people also get confused on things like two-boxing. And it's also where people get confused on teaming. So what I will say about this is that teaming comes incredibly close to what this is talking about. However, it does not fall within what they are talking about exactly, especially depending upon how you do it. And I'll explain that in a second. So any user who colludes with another user to exploit the game for the purpose of gaining XP, prestige, game score, weapon level, or in-game unlock is subject to penalty. That is talking about two people that know each other, hopping into a lobby together and shooting each other to get camos and challenges done, or get ahead of the game, or they shoot each other on purpose so that they can get kill streaks and win the game. Like one person wins the game and they get a bunch of stuff out of it. That is what that is talking about, right? That is what boosting is. It actually doesn't even talk about reverse boosting, which is the exact opposite. Now, I'm not sure if they do talk about reverse boosting a little bit later, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So again, any user who colludes with another user to exploit the game for the purpose of gaining XP, prestige, game score, weapon level, or in-game unlock is subject to penalty. So this could, if you try hard enough, be considered talking about teaming. A lot of people use that line to basically say, hey, if you are working with someone else in the game, you're teaming. However, Call of Duty has done the exact opposite. Call of Duty has gone out of their way to basically add in multiple modes that will allow you to team up with other players. They have added in the past a revive pistol so that you can revive enemy players. They have made it in a multitude of different ways obvious that they are happy if you team with other players, as long as you don't do it in a super negative way. Now, I personally, ethically, I have to draw a line somewhere. That's what I do. I do not believe in finding someone that I know in the match and teaming up with them. I also don't like the idea of exploiting game chat by getting in a Discord call or some other call with someone that I know, going into a game of solos, finding them in match and talking to each other where other players can't hear us and using that to win a match. I think those things are very wrong. However, if you are to, say, hop into a game, you meet someone random, and you go out of your way to just lose on their behalf, I don't think that really exploits anything here. Now, again, this one is kind of difficult because in no capacity, and I'll, again, remove my camera, does this mention teaming? If you look up here, you can see it doesn't mention teaming. So teaming specifically is not mentioned in the slightest, so it leaves this one, again, to a situation where is Call of Duty banning people for teaming with other players in the game? And the answer to that is no. Plain and simple, they are not. They have never banned anyone for teaming. If someone tells you that they have been banned for teaming, that's crazy. I want to hear how it happened. I want to hear all about it. But I have thousands upon thousands of comments from my viewers who have found other players and been friendly and helped them get a win or something like that, and given up their own life in game to just have fun. I've seen that happen 1,000 times over, and none of them have ever been banned or reached out to me about getting banned or anything like that. So understand, this is not, in Activision's eyes, considered cheating, or at least not a bannable offense in the slightest, not something to put you in limited matchmaking, not enough to give you a minor offense, a temporary suspension, anything like that. So again, we have to look at what Activision does in these situations, because if we don't, we will make up whatever we want and decide that our ethics are more important than what the game is actually telling us is right or wrong in their situation, because their laws in their game are what we have to go by. Moving forward, we have glitching. Any user who abuses an exploit, in-game code, or other established rule of play is subject to penalty. An example includes, but is not limited to, using a hole in the map geo to intentionally go outside of the map boundary. Now, there was a time, and maybe this is just me, there was a time where there was certain areas in the map that you could get to because they put little holes. Now, these were not out of the map exploits. These were not any sort of exploit. It was just literally there was a hole where you could go into certain places during the Warzone 2 map. I was attacked for using those holes because all I did was go in, grab some cash, get out, right? That's what I'd do. I'd go into a black site and hit the road. But some people saw that as cheating. The issue is Call of Duty 1 does not ban for that. 2, I was not out of the map. I didn't do anything that pushed me out of the map. And in fact, I could get in and I could get out. Now, if people believe that is cheating, it's entirely up to them. But again, no bans were given for it. And Call of Duty, as long as you are not actually glitching outside of the map to where you can tell that it's literally not where you should be, it seems to be completely fine. Moving forward, we have griefing. That is any player who purposefully prevents another player from playing the game as intended by exploit or repeated unsportsmanlike behavior, such as intentional friendly fire, is subject to penalty. Funny enough, I don't think this has actually ever been a bannable offense, because I'm pretty sure you can hop into what is it called? I'm pretty sure you can hop into hardcore mode in multiplayer and just team shoot over and over and over, man. I don't know exactly if they ban for this, because it does say first offense, user may be temporarily suspended from the game online with teammates, have their stats, emblems, and weapon. Yeah, it's basically just the same stuff as everything else. I'm sure maybe if a player constantly does that, they get flagged on the back end. Maybe that's what happens. If you've ever seen it in real life, I'd love to hear all about that in a comment down below. But from what I can tell, you shouldn't do what they are saying right here. Obviously, griefing is bad. Don't go out of your way to try and ruin other people's gaming experience. That's a bad thing to do. Offensive behavior. Any user who is found to use aggressive, offensive, derogatory, or culturally charged language is subject to penalty. Cyberbullying and other forms of harassment are considered extreme offenses and will result in the harshest penalty. So that's basically just saying be nice. All right, that's what you need to know. I have been chat banned for saying that myself that I am a B word. True story. I have literally said I am such a little B, and they chat ban me. So just know their AI just has no idea what it's doing. But I would obviously be aware, if you don't want to get chat banned, don't do stuff like that. Improperly obtained downloadable or unlockable content. Obviously, don't go out of your way to buy things on external websites to get, I don't know, like a Monster Energy something. It's probably a bad idea. Decompiling or reverse engineering of game data. Now, this is basically how people actually make cheats, is they decompile the game data. This is also how you, what is it called? This is how you find the early leaks, because what happens is Call of Duty, whenever they make a game, they'll put information into the game that will be unlocked at a later time. It makes it easier on them in the long run. However, certain people will leak that information and share it to the public. That is what they are talking about in this instance. Malicious reporting. Now, this is a big no-no, but they don't do a damn thing about it, bro. Not one thing do they do about it. And this is one thing I swear to God I wish that they would do something about, because for some reason, it's okay to just spam report the piss out of people that are obviously not cheating. This is any user who is found to use in-game report systems for malicious intent, such as knowingly providing false reports against other users and or falsely spam reporting legitimate users to negatively impact their gameplay experience, is subject to penalty. So I will note that is everything. That is all of it in the terms of service. Okay. Just to go back a little bit, I do want to take a little note here. A little earlier, I mentioned something about the, we'll go back right here. A little earlier, we talked about this right here, and I wanted to talk about how certain things are actually bannable, right? So if you go into the terms of service, you can see this right here again. We've got input mapping software, and it proved that they do ban for certain input mapping software. If you go to Google and you look up REWASD, and whether or not it's allowed in Call of Duty, you can see that the developers have banned it. And what that actually did was it allowed you to use something like a keyboard and mouse to change your quote input in the game, making the game believe that it was a controller. And if you did that, you would actually get aim assist on your mouse, which is a big no-no. So they banned it, knowing that it could do something negative like that. So if that doesn't go out of your way to, or if that doesn't show that they go out of their way to ban things that they do see as cheating, I don't know what will. There's a lot of situations like that where Call of Duty will constantly go out of their way to prove, hey, we do this. All right. So if you see that something is not getting banned for, it's probably not because, oh, streamer does it. They love streamers. Nah, man, they don't give a shit about us. I'm not gonna lie. They don't give a damn. All right. First of all, I don't even stream. Just to be clear, I asked for, because I kept getting shadow banned because people would false report me. Like, as we saw at the bottom of that, I would get constantly false reported. I got shadow banned. So I reached out to a Call of Duty representative and I asked, hey, this is my Call of Duty ID. Is there any way that you could pass this along to the Ricochet team so that I could get Streamer Plus, so that I could have more of an opportunity to try and get content for the game that I'm making a living on, the game that I make videos that help you get hits on your game? Is there any way that you could do that? And they said they passed it along. It's been a little over a month now and not a single word about it. And I still do not have anything like that. So just know they don't really care about streamers all that much either. And listen, don't just blindly trust anybody. Do your own damn research, because if I have to get on to a video just so I can tell you, hey, that's not against TOS, do I literally have to pull up TOS to show you? Don't make me do that, man. I don't want to ever be the guy that hops in and is like, well, let me prove you wrong, because it's goofy. It feels super cringe. I hate doing stuff like this. I think it's very dumb, but I do often need somewhere to point to when people say, hey, Expel, this is cheating. It's against the terms of service. No, it's not. I need you to know what's against terms of service if you're going to say something's against terms of service. It makes no sense. I don't know what it is. My biggest pet peeve in life is people just making things up for the sake of their own reality. We need to stop doing that. Please know what is actually happening in the real world here. You can't just take your own ethics and your own beliefs and push them on other people and say they're doing something wrong because you don't like it. That's not okay. It just never will be okay. That goes throughout all your life. I'm not talking about just video games right here. Stop pushing your own beliefs on other people and telling them they're wrong for doing something that has nothing to do with you. It doesn't affect you in the slightest, dude. It makes no sense. Stop doing stuff like that. Super weird. Stop getting mad over dumb stuff. Not worth it. Either way, thank y'all for being here. I hope this made a lot of sense to y'all. And I hope that you have an incredible remainder of your day. And I hope that you subscribe if you enjoyed this. I think that might just be it. Goodbye. You can leave now.